There's a moment that comes to each of us, perhaps sitting quietly in the morning light, or walking through a forest, or even in the midst of great pain, when something shifts. The endless chatter of the mind suddenly quiets, and we find ourselves here, truly here, for what feels like the first time. In that moment, we're not the story we've been telling ourselves about who we are. We're not our fears, our achievements, our past mistakes, or our future anxieties. We're simply awareness itself, witnessing this extraordinary dance of existence with such tenderness that it brings tears to our eyes. This isn't a mystical experience reserved for monks or saints. This is your birthright, your natural state, waiting beneath the surface of every busy moment. When we learn to rest in this sacred presence, everything changes, not because the world becomes different, but because we remember who we truly are. Most of us spend our lives in a kind of trance, rushing from one experience to another, always seeking the next thing that will make us complete. We live as if we're constantly late for an appointment with happiness, as if the present moment is just a waiting room for real life to begin. But what if I told you that this very moment, this breath, this heartbeat, this awareness, reading these words, is the only appointment you'll ever need to keep? The revolution begins not with changing anything external, but with a simple shift in attention. Instead of being lost in the story of your life, you become the one who is aware of the story. Instead of being the wave, you recognize yourself as the ocean. This isn't about transcending your humanity or floating above your problems. It's about discovering the vast, peaceful awareness that has always been present, even in your most difficult moments. When you were a child, before you learned to divide the world into categories of good and bad, before you constructed the elaborate edifice of your identity, you naturally lived in this state of wonder. You could spend hours watching clouds, completely absorbed in the magic of existence. That capacity for presence hasn't disappeared. It's just been covered over by layers of conditioning, like dust on a mirror. The good news is that awareness is self-cleaning. The moment you notice you're not present, you're already present again. This shift doesn't happen through effort or striving. It happens through a kind of gentle letting go, like releasing a handful of sand. The more tightly you grasp for enlightenment, the more it slips through your fingers. But when you relax into this moment, when you stop trying to be somewhere else or someone else, you discover that what you've been seeking has been here all along. The ego, that collection of thoughts and beliefs we take to be ourselves, has been running the show for so long that we've forgotten it's just an employee, not the boss. Think of the ego as a well-meaning but overzealous personal assistant who's been making all your decisions while you've been asleep at the wheel. It means well. It's trying to protect you, to ensure your survival, to maintain your sense of being a separate, special individual. But somewhere along the way, this assistant started believing it was you. Your ego is like a skilled actor who has become so identified with a role that it's forgotten it's performing. It's been playing the part of you for so long that it believes its own performance. But you are not the character. You are the awareness in which the character appears. You are not the wave. You are the ocean expressing itself as a wave. This doesn't mean we need to eliminate the ego or see it as the enemy. That would be like trying to eliminate your shadow. The ego serves important functions. It helps you navigate the practical world, remember your name, pay your bills, and maintain relationships. The problem arises when we let it drive the bus of our lives, when we believe its stories about who we are and what we need to be happy are absolutely true. When you begin to witness the ego's operations with compassion rather than identification, something beautiful happens. The ego begins to relax. It stops needing to defend itself constantly because it's no longer carrying the full weight of your identity. It can simply be what it is, a useful tool for functioning in the world, like a computer program that runs when needed but doesn't need to be constantly on. This shift from being the ego to witnessing the ego is like waking up from a dream. In the dream, you were completely convinced you were being chased by a monster. But upon waking, you realize you were safe in your bed all along. The monster was real within the dream, but it had no power over your essential being. Similarly, the ego's dramas and stories are real within the dream of separation, but they cannot touch your true nature. The invitation is to become curious about your own awareness. Who is the one who is aware of your thoughts? Who notices when you're happy or sad, calm or agitated? This witnessing presence is constant, unchanging, and infinitely peaceful. It's been with you since birth and will be with you until your last breath. Some call it consciousness, some call it the soul, some call it God. The name doesn't matter. What matters is recognizing that this awareness is your deepest identity. Throughout history, every wisdom tradition has pointed to the same truth. Love is not just an emotion or a feeling, it's the very fabric of existence itself. When you strip away all the layers of conditioning, all the stories about separation and difference, what remains is an inexhaustible wellspring of love. This love isn't dependent on conditions or circumstances. It doesn't need to be earned or deserved. It simply is, like the sun that shines equally on all beings. Most of us have been trained to think of love as something we give and receive, something that flows between separate beings. But the deepest love is the recognition that there are no separate beings. When you look into another's eyes and see yourself looking back, when you feel their joy as your joy and their pain as your pain, you're experiencing love in its purest form. This isn't romantic love or familial love, though it can express itself through these channels. This is the love that mystics and sages have written about throughout the ages, the love that recognizes the divine in all beings. This love doesn't make you soft or weak. It makes you incredibly strong because it's grounded in truth rather than illusion. When you love from this place of recognition, you're not trying to get something from the other person. You're not loving them because they make you feel good about yourself or because they meet your needs. You're loving them because you recognize that at the deepest level, you and they are one. This understanding transforms your relationships completely. Instead of seeking love, you become love. Instead of trying to be understood, you become understanding. Instead of demanding that others change to meet your expectations, you meet them exactly where they are with an open heart. This doesn't mean becoming a doormat or accepting abusive behavior. It means responding to difficult situations from a place of clarity and compassion rather than reactivity and fear. The most profound teaching tool in your life is often the person who triggers you the most, the colleague who constantly interrupts, the family member who never listens, the friend who always needs to be right. These are your greatest teachers because they show you where you're still holding on to the illusion of separation. They reveal the places where your heart is still closed, where you're still defending a position rather than opening to love. When someone pushes your buttons, they're offering you a precious gift. The opportunity to see where you're still asleep, still identified with the ego's story. Instead of getting angry at them for triggering you, you can thank them for showing you where your work lies. This doesn't mean you become passive or allow people to walk all over you. It means you respond from a place of centered awareness rather than unconscious reactivity. The heart has an infinite capacity to hold all experiences without being diminished by them. Like the sky that remains unchanged whether there are clouds or clear weather, your heart essence remains pure and undisturbed regardless of what emotions or experiences pass through it. Sadness, joy, anger, peace, all are welcomed equally in the vast space of unconditional love. There's a teaching that's written in the deepest chambers of the heart, inscribed not in words but in the very fabric of our experience. It's a lesson that no one volunteers for, yet everyone eventually receives. This is the curriculum of suffering, not the pointless suffering that comes from our resistance to life, but the sacred suffering that cracks us open and reveals the infinite compassion that lives within us. When great pain enters your life, it feels like a cosmic mistake. You may find yourself asking, "Why me? Why now?" What did I do to deserve this? But suffering isn't punishment, it's initiation. It's life's way of preparing you for a deeper level of existence, a more profound understanding of what it means to be human. The caterpillar doesn't willingly enter the cocoon, yet without that dissolution there would be no butterfly. Your deepest wounds become your greatest teachers because they strip away everything that isn't essential. When you're brought to your knees by illness, loss, or heartbreak, all the things you thought mattered, your achievements, your image, your plans for the future, suddenly seem insignificant. In that raw, vulnerable place, you discover what truly matters: love, connection, presence, and the preciousness of each moment. Suffering has a way of burning through the ego's defenses, like acid through metal. The stories you tell yourself about being strong, independent, or in control all crumble when you're face to face with your own fragility. But this isn't destruction, it's liberation. When the false self is dismantled, what remains is your true nature, which is indestructible and infinitely compassionate. The path from pain to wisdom isn't about getting over your suffering or transcending it. It's about letting it transform you. Like a piece of coal that becomes a diamond under pressure, your consciousness is refined and purified through difficult experiences. Each loss teaches you about impermanence, each betrayal about forgiveness, each illness about the preciousness of health. The pain you've endured becomes the very substance of your compassion for others. When you meet someone who has walked through fire and emerged with their heart intact, you're in the presence of someone who has learned to alchemize suffering into love. They radiate a quality that can't be faked or manufactured, the depth that comes from having touched the bottom of despair and discovered it's not the bottom at all, but the foundation of infinite compassion. This understanding doesn't make you seek suffering or romanticize pain. It simply helps you recognize that nothing in your experience is wasted. Every tear you've shed, every night you've lain awake wondering how you'll make it through, every moment you've felt completely alone, all of it has been preparing you to be a healing presence in the world. The most beautiful truth about human existence is that we're all walking each other home. None of us is meant to make this journey alone. We're here to accompany each other through the joys and sorrows, the victories and defeats, the moments of clarity and the times of confusion. We're here to remind each other of our true nature when we forget, to hold space for each other's pain, and to celebrate each other's awakening. Service isn't something you do to be good or to earn spiritual points. It's the natural expression of wisdom. When you truly understand that separation is an illusion, serving others becomes as natural as breathing. You help not because you're supposed to, but because there's no other to help. There's only the one appearing as many, the one consciousness expressing itself through countless forms. This service doesn't have to be grand or dramatic. It can be as simple as really listening to someone who needs to be heard, offering a smile to a stranger, or holding space for a friend's grief without trying to fix it. Every act of genuine care sends ripples through the web of consciousness, affecting lives you'll never know about in ways you can't imagine. When you serve from this place of understanding, you discover the great paradox. In giving, you receive. In emptying yourself, you become full. In dying to your separate self, you find eternal life. Service becomes a form of meditation, a way of staying present to the sacred dimension of existence that pervades even the most ordinary moments. The person experiencing homelessness on the street corner, the colleague struggling with depression, the family member battling addiction, they're all carrying medicine for your soul. They're inviting you to move beyond the comfortable boundaries of your private world and into the vast territory of unconditional love. When you respond to their need, you're not just helping them, you're helping yourself remember who you really are. This understanding transforms how you see every interaction. the cashier at the grocery store, the person who cuts you off in traffic, the neighbor whose dog barks all night. They're all fellow travelers on the same journey home. Some are walking confidently, others are stumbling, and still others seem to be walking in circles. But everyone is moving toward the same destination, the recognition of their own divine nature. The present moment is the only place where healing can occur. The past is gone, existing only in memory. The future is yet to come, existing only in imagination. But right here, right now, in this eternal present, every wound can be touched by the infinite love that you are. This moment is where transformation happens, where forgiveness becomes possible, where peace can be found even in the midst of chaos. Most of us live as refugees from the present moment, constantly seeking shelter in thoughts about the past or future. We replay old conversations, rehearse future scenarios, and miss the only life we actually have, the one happening right now. But when you learn to rest in presence, you discover that this moment contains everything you need, all the love, all the wisdom, all the peace you've been seeking. The present moment isn't just a slice of time between past and future. It's the gateway to eternity. When you're fully here, time seems to expand and deepen. Minutes can feel like hours, and hours can pass in what feels like moments. This isn't because time is changing, but because you're touching the timeless dimension of existence that underlies all temporal experience. In this sacred now, every problem finds its solution, every question finds its answer, every wound finds its healing. Not because these things are given to you from outside, but because you remember that you are the source of all healing, all wisdom, all love. You are not a broken person seeking wholeness. You are wholeness itself, temporarily forgetting your true nature. This realization doesn't come through effort or striving. It comes through a kind of relaxed attention, like tuning into a radio station that's always broadcasting but requires just the right frequency to receive clearly. The station is your own awareness, and the frequency is presence. When you tune in, you discover that the peace you've been seeking has been here all along, waiting patiently for you to notice. Death is the ultimate teacher, the final guru that no one can avoid. Yet in our culture, we treat death like an enemy to be conquered rather than a friend to be welcomed. We spend enormous energy trying to postpone it, deny it, or pretend it won't happen to us. But when you begin to understand death as liberation rather than loss, everything changes. You stop postponing your real life and start living it fully. The fear of death is really the fear of losing the illusion of being a separate self. The ego, which depends on continuity and permanence for its sense of identity, trembles at the thought of dissolution. But what if death is not the end of you, but the end of your limitations? What if it's not the extinguishing of a candle, but the merging of a wave back into the ocean? When you contemplate your own mortality honestly, not morbidly, but with clear awareness, it becomes a powerful catalyst for awakening. Suddenly, petty concerns lose their grip on you. The grudges you've been carrying, the fears that have been controlling you, the ways you've been postponing joy, all of it seems absurd in the face of your impermanence. This doesn't make you reckless or depressed. It makes you incredibly alive. When you truly understand that this life is temporary, every moment becomes precious. Every conversation becomes an opportunity for love. Every sunset becomes a masterpiece. Every ordinary day becomes a gift beyond measure. The dying process, when approached consciously, can be the most profound spiritual experience of a lifetime. It's the ultimate letting go, the final surrender of the ego's agenda. Those who have learned to die before they die discover that what they thought was death was actually birth into a larger reality that was always present but hidden by the veils of separate selfhood. The greatest illusion that humanity has ever believed is that we are separate beings struggling alone in a hostile universe. This lie is so convincing, so deeply embedded in our perception, that we build our entire lives around it. We construct elaborate defenses to protect our imaginary boundaries, compete for resources we believe are scarce, and live in constant fear of the other who might threaten our survival. But what if everything you've been taught about separation is fundamentally wrong? When you look deeply into the nature of existence, you discover that separation is a trick of perception, like seeing two separate H's and O's instead of recognizing that they're part of one molecule of water. The boundaries you experience between yourself and others are like the boundaries between waves on the ocean. They appear distinct from the surface, but dive beneath and you find they're all expressions of the same vast body of water. This recognition doesn't come through intellectual understanding alone. You can read about unity consciousness, discuss it philosophically, and even believe in it conceptually, but until you experience it directly, it remains just another idea. The shift happens in moments of profound presence, when the chattering mind becomes quiet and you suddenly realize that the awareness looking out through your eyes is the same awareness looking back through every other pair of eyes you've ever gazed into. In those moments of recognition, the word other loses all meaning. How can there be an other when there's only one consciousness appearing as many? How can there be enemies when everyone is yourself wearing a different costume? How can there be anyone to judge when every action is your own action seen from a different perspective? This doesn't mean everyone is the same on the surface level. Our personalities, our histories, our preferences, and our paths through life are as unique as fingerprints. But beneath these surface differences lies the same essential essence, the same divine spark, the same infinite awareness expressing itself through countless forms. It's like one actor playing many different roles. Each character is distinct, but the same consciousness animates them all. Living from this understanding transforms every relationship. Instead of seeing people as separate beings who might help or harm you, you see them as other expressions of your own deeper self. The person who annoys you is showing you something about yourself you haven't wanted to see. The person who inspires you is reflecting back your own divine potential. The person who needs your help is offering you the gift of service to your own true nature. This unity consciousness doesn't make you passive or indifferent to suffering. Instead, it makes you incredibly responsive to it because you recognize that all suffering is your own suffering. When you see someone in pain, you don't help them because you're supposed to be a good person. You help them because their pain is literally your pain. There's no separation between the helper and the helped, the giver and the receiver. There's only love recognizing itself and responding to its own need. For centuries, East and West have walked parallel paths toward understanding the deepest truths of existence. The East has gifted us with profound insights into the nature of consciousness, the illusory nature of the separate self, and the practices that lead to awakening. The West has contributed scientific rigor, psychological understanding, and practical methodologies for healing and transformation. Now, in this extraordinary time in human history, these streams are converging into a mighty river of wisdom. The marriage between Eastern spirituality and Western psychology isn't just an intellectual exercise, it's a necessity for our species' evolution. We need the East's understanding of consciousness and the West's knowledge of the psyche. We need the East's emphasis on surrender and the West's focus on empowerment. We need the East's recognition of emptiness and the West's honoring of our humanity. This integration isn't about creating a new religion or philosophy. It's about recognizing that all authentic spiritual and psychological traditions are pointing toward the same fundamental truths about human nature and potential. Whether you're practicing Buddhist meditation, Christian contemplation, Jewish Kabbalah, Islamic Sufism, or secular mindfulness, you're exploring the same territory of consciousness from different angles. The beautiful thing about this convergence is that it makes ancient wisdom accessible to modern minds. You don't have to renounce your Western upbringing or adopt Eastern customs to benefit from Eastern insights. You don't have to abandon scientific thinking to embrace mystical experience. You can honor both your rational mind and your intuitive wisdom. both your need for understanding and your capacity for surrender. This practical mysticism means bringing the deepest spiritual insights into the most ordinary moments of daily life. It means finding the sacred in the mundane, the eternal in the temporal, the infinite in the finite. It means recognizing that washing dishes can be as holy as sitting in meditation, that changing a diaper can be as transformative as reading scripture, that listening to a friend's troubles can be as profound as any mystical experience. The path doesn't require you to retreat from the world or spend years in caves or monasteries. It requires you to wake up to the divinity that's already present in your ordinary life. Your job, your relationships, your struggles, your joys, all of it is the curriculum for awakening. Every moment is an opportunity to practice presence. Every interaction is a chance to express love. Every challenge is an invitation to grow in wisdom. This integration of spiritual understanding with practical living is perhaps the greatest gift we can offer to future generations. We can show them that it's possible to be both mystical and practical, both surrendered and empowered, both deeply spiritual and fully human. We can demonstrate that awakening isn't an escape from life, but the fullest embrace of it. The journey of awakening is often described as a path of seeking, but the deepest truth is that there's nothing to seek and nowhere to go. What you're looking for is what you already are. The love you're seeking is the love you already embody. The peace you're yearning for is the peace that's already present in your deepest being. The home you're trying to find is the home you never left. This doesn't mean the journey is pointless or that spiritual practice is unnecessary. The seeking itself is part of the play of consciousness, part of the divine game of hide and seek that awareness plays with itself. You hide from yourself so thoroughly that you forget who you are, then spend lifetimes searching for yourself, only to discover that you were the seeker all along. The practices, meditation, prayer, service, study, aren't about acquiring something new, but about removing the veils that obscure your true nature. They're like polishing a mirror that has become clouded with dust. The mirror's capacity to reflect was never damaged. It was simply obscured. Similarly, your divine nature was never lost. It was simply forgotten beneath layers of conditioning and misidentification. This recognition brings profound relief because it means you can stop trying so hard to become something you're not and start relaxing into what you've always been. You can stop pushing the river and start flowing with it. You can stop climbing the mountain and realize you're already at the summit. You can stop seeking enlightenment and start living from the enlightenment that's already present. Coming home to your true nature isn't a destination you reach, but a recognition you allow. It's like waking up from a dream where you thought you were a beggar, only to remember your royalty. The beggar was never real. It was just a role you were playing so convincingly that you forgot it was a costume. This homecoming is available in every moment. You don't need to wait for the perfect conditions, the right teacher, or the completion of your spiritual practices. You can come home right now in this very moment simply by recognizing the awareness that's reading these words. That awareness is your true home, your deepest identity, your most intimate nature. As we come to the end of this exploration together, the most important thing to remember is that these aren't just beautiful ideas or inspiring concepts. They're invitations to direct experience, doorways to your own awakening, reminders of what you already know in your heart of hearts. The truth isn't something you need to believe, it's something you need to live. The path of awakening isn't about perfection or reaching some final state of enlightenment. It's about falling in love with the journey itself, with the messy, beautiful, heartbreaking, joy-filled experience of being human. It's about learning to see the sacred in the ordinary, to find God in the grocery store, to discover enlightenment in tea. In the middle of your most difficult day, we're all walking each other home, and the home we're walking toward is the recognition that we never left home in the first place. We're just helping each other remember who we truly are beneath all the stories, all the seeking, all the spiritual striving. We're simply awareness temporarily forgetting itself so it can have the joy of remembering again. So be gentle with yourself on this journey. Be patient with your forgetting and celebrate your remembering. Know that every step you take toward greater love, greater presence, greater service is a gift not only to yourself, but to the entire web of consciousness of which you're an integral part. Your awakening is the universe awakening to itself through you. The invitation is always the same. Be here now, not perfectly, not permanently, but as fully as you can in this moment. That's enough. That's everything. That's the pathless path home to who you've always been.